From the Ugly Parrot Studios in Newcastle, California, the Loomis Cigar Cartel presents Beyond the Humidor, a cigar podcast for the rest of us. Hey everybody, welcome back. Scott Robinson with you for another edition of Beyond the Humidor. Welcoming you guys to another show and another guest, and gonna have some fun along the way. Hey, let's give the gorilla top billing. How you doing there?
The gorilla is doing excellent.
Beautiful, beautiful. Lawrence, how you doing there?
Good deal, man. Starting out a new week.
Yes, with a little bit of Glenlivet. Very nice. Thank you for the contribution.
Very little bit.
Yeah, it is too hot to really drink, but I'll still drink. Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Too hot to drink? You feeling all right, man?
Well, drinking like just straight scotch,
True.
yeah.
I'm doing great. You know, this poor fellow that volunteered to guest on this show, I don't think he knows what he's in for, but hey, we'll give it a try.
All right. So I'm going to have me some fun. So let us introduce cigar broker Matt Sas. Matt, how you doing there?
Good, gentlemen. How we doing?
Outstanding, outstanding. Sound great. Good news.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Good stuff. Want to thank you for being on the show.
Don't
Hey, any
think
chance I can get to drink and have a cigar and have an excuse for it? We're all good.
What, you need an excuse?
Well, it just seems better now that I'm on the, just better than. No, you're right.
Plausible deniability is what
Yes,
that's called.
Yeah, fuck those judgy nuns.
Wow.
Yes, I know. I've got a private villa in hell reserved for me. So,
I have a small apartment next door, so we're good.
Guess could go visit each other though. It'd be nice.
Well,
wait. What makes you think you're good enough to live in my neighborhood?
I already bought it. There's nothing you can do about it.
So me and my friends come in like some black robes and torches.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
Crenshaw Downs. Do you know what neighborhood he bought in, man?
Yes, I do. I also know what outfit I'm going to wear, but anyway, no beaver break this early in the morning in the episode.
Wow.
We already know it's a furry costume.
Very likely.
I think I threw up.
So, Matt, we were talking to someone I think you know last time. Our good friend, now I'm blanking, John Fozzie says to say hello to you.
Oh, hey, John.
We were chatting with him the other day. But, I got a couple things. I remind me at some point, I got a question from a listener that I want to bring on to all of us to talk about it later in the show. But, Matt, we were talking about with John, the difference in he's a rep and you're a broker. Can you elaborate on that, on the difference between the two?
So before I was a broker, I was actually in-house rep for Ashton. So the difference is I'm pretty much a 1099 sales guy who owns my own company, and these companies come to me and ask me to represent them.
Nice.
So, but everything I do, I pay for. Usually the reps will have their travel and everything else paid for. So it's kind of a give or take on that end about what differences you want to do. In-house is generally more preferable because, again, then you get your travel paid for, you get all that stuff paid for. Brokers in a territory like the Pacific Northwest, we aren't a cigar-friendly territory. Mm-hmm. So it behooves them to kind of go with a broker in that sense. So I represent different lines. I can represent different lines, kind of do my own thing. And everybody has guidelines. My companies have guidelines they have to follow. But I'm just a phone call away from not being a rep for any company. So that's the other thing that's a little more difficult. So
Very nice. Very nice. And I know, so basically what you're saying is we should be prepared to pick you up from the Greyhound station on Friday?
that might be the case after this show. Yeah, I might.
Well, at least he knows what he's getting into.
Oh, yes.
That's right.
So lines, I know we're smoking one of your lines here. Tommy was kind enough to give us 5 cigars to smoke for this program. He gave us 5 cigars. We're smoking them for this program, and we are smoking the My Father Le Bijou 1922 in a Petite Robusto. It is just a fabulous cigar.
You know
So that
how
is our-
pretty he said that? I'm sorry to interrupt, but how beautiful that French just rolled off his tongue along with the word fabulous.
That's because the French kicked the English's ass, too.
Sure, we'll go with that. But Anyway, so the story behind this particular cigar of why we have it is our studio audience is with us today. Tommy's over there in the corner hiding. His wife passed in February. They had the celebration of life last weekend. It is May. I think it was last weekend. We weren't able to smoke it because we were all doing other things, so we're going to smoke it today on the show. So this show, Gorilla can put it in the memory in the beginning dedicated to Leilani. And we'll be sending good smoke to her throughout the episode as we chat. But, Matt, to get into what the lines you represent, if I wrote the list down correctly, because that was a list you gave me at the El Septimo event at the Vault in Meridian, Idaho last month. It was my father, Christoph, El Septimo, Crux, and one of Scott's and my personal favorite, Illusion. You are a busy person, sir.
Yeah, each of those brands have different territories. So I am not, in certain states that I have my father, I don't have Illusion. Actually, that's the only one that I don't have. That's a little different.
Right.
So so I, but yeah, so that's correct so far.
How big an area are you covering?
Alaska, Washington, Oregon, Utah, Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. So
Jesus.
small landmass.
Wow. For the 37 cigar smokers in that territory, I'm sure they thank you.
Yeah. It's there's not a lot going on in Alaska, obviously. Montana's actually picking up. It's doing great. Wyoming is they got some great local shops. That's and then you got Boise and Utah, Salt Lake City and Idaho, and then Washington and Oregon, I-5 corridor. That's kind of where most of the shops are. So there's a lot of driving in between there. But yeah, so still good and local. But yeah, the Le Bijou you guys are smoking is that the year on there is the year that Don Pepin's father was born. So that's a homage to kind of his father. And it's obviously that Double Oscuro 2016 Cigar of the Year. Just a phenomenal, even though we consider it a full-bodied, it's not one of those double Ligero LF, that's going to put you on your butt when you smoke it. It's still got some great complexity, great flavor as it goes through. It's a nice dance between just kind of that earthy, leathery stuff, but it jumps in a little bit of chocolate and cocoa notes. So it's just a beautiful cigar that we make, and it's I can't say enough about it. I don't get enough of them, so but that's we'll go into that.
How many you got left there, Elledge? 5 left, huh? I know where there's some, Matt. I can work out an arrangement with you.
Wow.
Oh no, I remember when we were at the Vault there that I gave you just a crap ton of cigars to smoke. So did you just not bring them for your friends to smoke, or what?
What's did?
Going on? I gave you a whole baggie.
Yeah, whatever.
God,
Nice try.
Right under the bus.
Really?
No, he didn't.
We're going to have to go search your house.
He's a shit. You can go right ahead. He's a shit disturber. He fits right in with the other two of you.
See, Matt, you could have said that about either one of the other two of us, and nobody would have batted an eye. Be like, oh, that crafty son of a bitch kept the bag of cigars. Greg is the last person to he wouldn't even consider something like that.
Nope.
That would keep him up at night. He'd have to be sending smoke signals out. I'm sorry, I think I forgot to give you guys a cigar. All right.
Well, all right. Are you guys going to be around for the El Septimo or My Father event coming up here at the Vault?
Tommy and I will be there.
What, for both?
What else? Wait a minute. Which vault? Oh, Eagle. The My Father event is this coming Friday.
Yes.
And the El Septimo event is the 1st of June, right?
Is the 1st of June, and that's going to be a blowout. That's going to be such a great party there. That's going to be you got Zaya coming, who's the owner of El Septimo, and you remember just that small party that we had.
Yes, I do.
Imagine the big party. So it's going to be quite the show.
That's a Thursday, so that's a problem for travel for most of us.
Oh, well, is it a Thursday?
It is. June 1st is a Thursday. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
So no, but I'll see you this weekend.
Okay.
I'll be there, and we're doing that at the Vault Eagle too, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Cool.
You might want to name a date because I think by the time this is out, that would have passed.
And I'll tell you what, if any of your members come up and say that they saw me on your podcast, I'll give them a free cigar.
I think this one comes out after both of those events.
Oh, well,
So-
better for me.
Yes. I think in the recording schedule, this one's going to come out on
2 weeks from Sunday.
So there'll be 28 is the next episode, and yours comes out on the 11th. So yeah, you're good.
Okay, well, let's do this then. If they purchase some stuff and they mention the Loomis Cigar Cartel, I will. I'll give them an additional cigar upon purchase. So
There you go, Tommy. Spread the word.
well,
Yeah.
they have to watch the show. The code word is pineapple. How's that?
Of course it is. Jesus. Comes with its own upside down pineapple logo. How convenient.
Oh my.
That's right.
It's those Pacific Northwest guys. You got to watch them shifty sons of bitches every time.
And y'all fools thought I was kidding.
Yeah,
No, we
I'm
knew
sitting up
better.
in Lacey, Washington.
So Matt, tell us a little bit about the new brand on the block. We don't have a lot of El Septimo in Northern California, so it's not a brand that our listeners are really going to be familiar with.
So this is kind of a Zaya who is known for other things as far as what he does. He's got 3 wineries in France. He's multiple businesses on this. Used to smoke these cigars and couldn't find them anywhere, and decided the best way to find them is to buy the company and make them. So he did that, and it really took off. They're big in overseas. It was very big in Dubai, over in Europe, that kind of stuff. And so then he recruited Chip, who used to be the VP of Ashton, and Chip came over, and they wanted to really get in the U.S. market because we're the biggest cigar market there is, and U.S. cigar smokers are the biggest purchasers of cigars there is. So that's when they designed the Sacred Arts and the Emperor collection. That's where you see those gorgeous boxes as far as the Sacred Arts are concerned. Beautiful boxes. A couple of Zaya's companies do designs for Louis Vuitton, Prada, all that kind of stuff. So he went to those guys and said, "Hey, make me these boxes." And as far as the Sacred Arts collection, all of them are named after famous painters. You got Da Vinci, Raphael, and they're all, each box has a famous painting of that painter on the box. And it's second to none as far as luxury is concerned. They're really about aroma and strength profiles. So we don't go into wrapper, binder, and filler. We go into more kind of a taste, what that aroma is for you, what that flavor profile is for you, what the strength is. Because you come to find out that we all kind of have that stuff in the back of our head that's, it's my father. I don't like my father's cigar, so I'm not even going to try it. Or, this is a San Andreas wrapper. I don't like San Andreas wrapper, so I'm not going to try it. But, in the end, how do you know? So, but it's just different kind of luxury cigar company. The cigars are gorgeous. Each blend is only made in the one size, so you won't find the Raphael in 4 or 5 different sizes. It's the one size it is, but a great luxury brand. And Zaya, it just works his butt off for this company. Zaya's daughter helps run the company, so and it's still is, as far as I'm concerned, those are the people that I call as the family. So it's just a great family to be part of, and it's a great company to be working with. So it's been really good, been a really good start. And it's there, we're just getting the name out there. So I'm sure they're in Northern California soon. You'll see it down there. Hopefully we get into Santa Rosa and Nampa and those shops down that way soon. So
Yeah, I know.
because you got Narong Va down there now repping for you guys, and he's a great guy. He's
he's El
I love that.
Septimo now.
He is with El Septimo. He's your California rep down there. So
I'm going to have to harass Narong.
There
Scott's
you go.
like, who?
Yeah.
You remember Narong from Ashton?
I don't.
Okay.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to harass him a little bit. And then, I know our listeners probably heard us snickering a little bit last year and talking about those 3 beautiful lighters they had at the trade show.
Yes. I got to light my cigar with one. It was the scariest experience of my life.
I believe it. For those that don't know, they're $5.5 million each, right?
$5.5 million each. And if you've never held $5.5 million in your hands, which I never had, I mean, I've lit tons of cigars, obviously, but man, I was just nervous. But yeah, just gorgeous lighters, beautiful. All three of those lighters were sold. Zai is still thinking about coming out with something a little different, something on that notes. But you know, again, for a luxury class of cigars that he has, he also looks at humidors. We have gorgeous marble humidors. You know, so he makes these very, very quality, very nice price point. What am I thinking of? Accessories that are just amazing. So,
and they are. We had the chance to see a few of the accessories at the El Septimo event at Vault Meridian last month, and the lighters are beautiful. They're well thought of. I particularly like the soft flame lighter that you had last month. It was really nice. Just looks great. I mean, the designs are spectacular. And then the one humidor, I don't remember if that was a raffle or not. Do you? But the one humidor.
No, that was a purchase. So they got a couple of those humidors, yeah. And each one of those sizes and each one of those cigars in those humidor are very unique. Only sold with those humidors. So I was lucky enough that Chip came up and gave me one to try. But man, those are phenomenal. Part of the Gilgamesh collection. Just gorgeous, beautiful cigars.
We'd all have to chip in and buy one between the three of us.
Yeah. So I'll go into it here as I pull something out of my humidor here. But this is an example. So this is the Van Gogh, but this is the, I mean, you can see just how gorgeous that box is.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
So it's got a nice Van Gogh painting. This just happens to be the collection sampler. Oh, excuse me. This is just a different box. This isn't a collection sampler, but you can see just how gorgeous and how beautiful these boxes are. So, I mean, just quality all the way through. He's been amazing.
That's super cool.
Now there is.
Yes, this is my personal humidor in case you were wondering.
Anybody got a little envy? I do.
Well, if you're up in Lacey, swing on by.
We can arrange that. Trust me, we can arrange that. You're not that far away.
Can we edit that part out? Is that
too late? The gorilla can be bribed to edit things out, just so you know.
Okay.
Now, Matt, there's a brand in here that I know I'm not very familiar with. I don't know about you two, but it's Crux.
Right. So Crux has been around the industry for a while. They've kind of gone through a rebranding process, and they went through kind of a major change in rebranding in their cigars. And what they've done has just been gorgeous. As a matter of fact, pardon my. If you have to see the crotch, I apologize. But let's face it, that's why many of you tuned in. So they went through a nice retail rebranding process. And so what they have now are these gorgeous boxes. So you see that kind of lime green top there. Each box now comes with a 5-pack and single sticks with the gorgeous representation up here. So you can totally see exactly what you're smoking. It gives you and you can go straight with the 5-packs or with the single sticks. But man, I get approached by a lot of companies, obviously, to broker their cigars, and my first instinct is always to say, hey, send me your cigars first, let me smoke them, because the one thing that I'm blessed is to have some great brands, and the other thing is that I want to make sure that everything that I sell that I enjoy. So I had sat down and talked with Casey from Crux, and man, the cigars are just smoking, just amazing, just gorgeous cigars. So they've been around a while. They're rebranding. Hopefully we're going to pick them up soon. But they're just, the Maduro's been great. The Bull and Bear's been selling well. That's always been a top seller for them. They're coming out with the Habano. But yeah, it's just been a gorgeous line. And I encourage you guys, if you want to give them a shot, that's definitely the way to go. Because it's just a beautiful cigar. Yeah.
Now, are those in California?
They should be in California. Yeah.
Okay. Because I haven't seen them.
I'll take a look. We're going down San Diego this weekend, so I'll look around down there.
Yeah, if not, you can always do us a favor and ask your local retailer. Be like, hey, let me try. I want you to get these Crux in there, especially on your local shops, and give it a shot. It doesn't, we're not asking much to bring them in. We just want a nice representation. So if you can come in and they can, call us up and bring it in. But yeah, again, all their cigars are just phenomenal. And but it's like anything else. There are certain cigars and certain lines you might love the lines, but it might not be your favorite cigar on the line. So there'll be some that for people's palates they might not enjoy, but there's going to be a cigar for everybody, definitely in that line.
Yeah. Well, we all know about cigars and buying in bulk.
Indeed, we do.
I got 13 more, by the way.
13 more boxes or 13 more
sticks. They'll be delivered to my my cigar merchant in a free state next week.
You need help.
I don't want help. So, what we're talking about, Matt, as you know, the William Ventura factory had a problem last September.
Mm-hmm.
That caused Cadwell to discontinue the last Czar.
Yes.
So I've been buying everything I can get my hands on. And I have more than I know what to do with.
Yeah, there's always that traumatic stuff that can go on. We've actually been, pre-COVID, we've been really blessed with the amount of cigars that they were just able to produce, even with troubles as far as weather and all that stuff. But, COVID with the shutting down of the factories, and you have to realize that even when these factories shut down, being a cigar roller down there, especially, I'll speak more for Esteli, Nicaragua, than I can for the Dominican, but it's hard to find these really skilled and crafted rollers. And my father was just fantastic because even when the factory was shut down, they continued to pay all their employees. So, even taking the hit and taking the loss as far as that's concerned, they wanted to make sure that the quality was still there. So, but for those 2 years when the factories were really at a lull, that's the growing process. So that's a lot of tobacco that was lost. But we've, the industry in general has done a great job of keeping up. And my father's just done a phenomenal job of keeping up too. So, because you got to realize, my father rolls a couple of company cigars too, Tatuaje, some of the Ashton products and a couple other cigars. So they're not just making their cigars, but just to have enough tobacco is just phenomenal. So, all the credit in the world to those guys and the family that keeps kicking because, just paying the employees that weren't even working is just a great thing to do. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me something. How did you get into the cigar game? Your beginnings. Talk to us a little bit about that.
You ready for this story?
Okay.
So what I really wanted to do in high school was be a politician. I wanted to work in politics. That was kind of my Ron Sims used to work up here, or not work up here, but Ron Sims he was running against Slade Gordon at the time. This is when I was in high school. And Ron Sims' niece was my teacher for political science in high school. And so I said, well, what's the best way to get into politics? And I'm like, okay, well, join the Marines. So I did that. And then after the Marines, it's to get your degree at the University of Washington in political science. So I did that. And then I went to work in the state Senate. And I decided that politics wasn't my thing. And so the local cigar shop, which is up here in Snoqualmie, it's called Lit Cigar Lounge, is at the Snoqualmie Casino. I used to go there all the time. So I asked the general manager, I said, hey, do you have a spot open? Because I need a job. And he was hesitant, but hired me on. And then, a year and a half, 2 years into that, being a tobacconist is when Ashton approached me and asked me if I wanted to move to Texas to do it. And it was kind of the right place, right time. But, I always tell people if they want to get in this in this gig, it's always good to be that tobacconist first, because any time, any company, no matter what company it is, they always ask us down here, do we know anybody? Do we know any tobacconists, that kind of stuff that are looking to get in on the rep or broker side. You always start with the rep side. Until you get a reputation, it's just hard to jump in as a broker because nobody's going to hire you. So, but yeah, the companies are looking for reps. a lot, so, but if you're looking to get into kind of this side of the industry, which I'll tell you is not always rainbows and butterflies, but as far as jobs are concerned, it's amazing. So I can complain about it, but you guys would be like, really, that's your biggest thing? And, you have to drive 8 hours, but smoke free cigars in your car. Yeah. That's, so I can't complain too much. Right.
Sounds like a tough gig, bro.
It's it's really tough. Maybe I'm just doing that to discourage people because I want more brands. I don't. It could be what it. Maybe I'm doing that. But that was pretty much it. Obviously there's not many people that grow up and say I want to be a cigar broker, but just right place, right time. And I'm a cigar nerd first, and coming from the retail side always helps on the broker side because you understand the retailers more and you understand kind of what they're looking for. We're for me, I'm more to the fact now that I'm very much customer oriented versus the business to business now because, if you guys, the one thing I can do is lose cigar purchases. Everybody's like, oh, I saw Matt on the Beyond the Humidor and he sucks, so I'm never buying that cigar again. But at the same time, big credit to Josh at the Vault and in all the retailers that I have, but we get along great. But the issue is they can order all my cigars, but if nobody's buying them, then they really doesn't make a difference. So unfortunately, there's not a lot of lounges that we can hang out at up in this territory because of what because of the laws and stuff like that. So when we get a chance to hang out, I guess going back to how much my job might not suck is I get to hang out in cigar lounges and drink and smoke and talk to people all night and get paid for it. So I guess I can't complain.
You can't smoke anywhere indoors in Washington except for an Indian reservation, correct?
So there are tribal lounges, and we do have some members-only lounges. Some of those range from $5,000 to get in and $500 a month. So there are different places to smoke up here, but they're cracking down on all that stuff up here. Portland was a little blessed because when they passed their ban, they grandfathered in some of the shops, so there are still places to smoke down there. But yeah, I mean, it gets it's just. And you guys down in California, all your laws eventually come up here. So the flavor ban and all the stuff coming up is we're just waiting for that to come up this way. So as California goes, so does Washington and Oregon. That's
we start the plague.
Yeah.
So thank you guys. So whatever you guys did down there, I'm going to blame it on you.
A few years ago, man, I was in Seattle, and I couldn't tell you the name of the lounge. We were down by the waterfront somewhere. And I found this thing on Google. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go in and get a couple cigars. I walk in, and there's literally no one in the building. The shop is open. I'm standing there. I'm kind of looking around. All of a sudden, here comes this guy in behind me. He goes, something I can help you with? I'm like, yeah, just looking to pick up a couple of sticks, man. He goes, okay, well, it shows me what he has. I find a couple of sticks. He goes, you want me to light and cut one of those for you? I'm like, you can smoke here? He goes, no, are you kidding me? Can't smoke here. I'm like, then why the fuck are we lighting and cutting it? I don't get it. He goes, we smoke out there. And I look, and there's like a 15-passenger bus in the parking lot that they got people smoking in. Oh, well, you got to be kidding me, man. He goes, hey, man, you do what you got to do. So, and he's got the bus parked where you can see the front door. And if somebody goes in, he gets out of the bus, waddles over, sells them a cigar, waddles back out to the bus. This is the craziest shit I've ever seen.
Were you right on the lake?
Yeah.
There?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Union Cigar Society. Great, fantastic shop. Daniel up there running it. But they now have a members-only lounge, which is phenomenal too. But they also own the Electric Boat Company down there, so you could take their boats out and go smoke. In the summer, we'll hang out outside. They used to have the bus. And Rain City down there also has a bus because that's how they can kind of let people smoke. But they don't have the bus anymore because they have a lounge. But yeah, I mean, it's weird because we have to think outside the box because, Washington State doesn't say this is what you have to do to open up a members-only lounge. They say what you can't do. So as long as you kind of do that, especially with these buses, because you can't just, well, now you can because it's Seattle and you can live in a bus in the middle of the street and nobody cares. But before that, you had to move. You had to be able to move the bus. So these buses are all drivable, and they'll move it over a couple spots. But so that's what it comes down to. Soon we'll be smoking in our beds underneath the sheets. Just trying to avoid law enforcement or something. But it gets the rules and regulations now are just sick, just sad.
I'm not opposed to the cigar party bus. Drive from shop to shop. That sounds like it could be fun.
They actually have that. I got invited to one.
Ooh.
On the East Coast. They have they call it a cigar lounge crawl, and they rent a old fart bus, and you go from shop to shop smoking cigars. You can't smoke on the bus, but you visit like 5 shops in a day, spend a couple hours in each shop, and they're like, hey, you should come out and do that. I'm like, yeah, I would if it wasn't, $33,000 to fly back and forth across the country. But yeah.
Greg, don't exaggerate. It was a white panel van that pulled up next to you.
We're not going to talk about that.
It said free candy and 10
Yeah, I was
millimeter
gonna say
sockets.
candy.
And Last Czar cigars.
Yeah, gets a wide demographic. Jesus.
So what got you guys into smoking cigars? What was your first cigar experience? What was that kind of thing that you were like, okay, this is kind of going to be my thing? I'll tell you my story first because I know you're going to ask me. When my son was born, I never really smoked cigars. My brother's like, you need to come over and try this cigar thing out. And my go-to stick at the time years ago was the Padron 3000 because one, I knew what it was, and two, it was a really inexpensive stick. And my brother kind of got me in the industry, and luckily he lives close, so he'll come over here and see this humidor and grab some cigars every time he's over. So that's actually when he comes and sees me. He's like, Matt, are you free on Saturday? And I'm like, well, how many cigars do you need? Right. So what got you guys into it? Was there a time, or you guys?
Matt, how old were you when you started?
Oh man. So my son was, he's 19 now. He was 1. So 18 years ago, I can't math. I'll be 46 in a couple weeks. So
28.
What is that? 28. Yeah.
Okay.
28. Yeah. Yeah.
I got started, I've been smoking a little over 30 years. I had a buddy that I worked with whose older sister was a international stewardess for American Airlines, and she used to bring stuff from overseas that we couldn't get really anywhere. And so we played poker a couple times a month. We had kind of a floating poker game for guys in the bar industry and select customers that we knew, and so we smoked there. Also, around the same time period, had a really good customer who was a cigar guy, so he was giving me Ashtons. So kind of my first bit of cigar was Ashton. So I didn't really get stuck in the White Owl Habitampa backwoods where some guys start out. I was blessed or cursed, depending on how you look at it, to really get started with some pretty quality cigars right out of the gate.
Oh, you went classy. Yeah. Okay. Well, look at that.
It's been the only thing I've done in my life, classy.
So I started with a friend badgering me to go up to our local brick and mortar, and finally he convinced me one night. So up we go. Now, what you have to understand, Matt, is the owner of our cigar is like a crack dealer. The first hit's free, and then he wants you to buy after that. So he gets me, we talk, and I'm like, I've never smoked a cigar before. I have nothing to do. He goes, what do you like to drink? I'm like, Scotch. He goes, well, I don't have anything flavored like that, but he gets me a mojito flavored cigar. I can't remember the cigar brand now. We don't carry it anymore because of obvious reasons, but so that was my first cigar, and then it was about 6 months in the infused humidor back when they still existed, and then into the big boy humidor where I've stayed ever since. So it's been about 12, 13 years for me.
Oh, it's over to me now.
Mr. Robinson.
All right. So, got to tell you about this cat. When I first got into college, my first college roommate, Paul Crabtree, he was my boy. 5 minutes, we were fast friends right away. Hung out together. And at UC Santa Barbara, where I went first, they had this thing called Discovery Days, which is basically where you get acquainted with the school, you get a tour or whatever. But the truth of the matter is, in the evening, that's when you get shit-faced drunk. My boy banged a girl in the dorm elevator. He was a legend within 2 fucking days. We were the lively dorm room, and he was my boy. So I had left Santa Barbara and went to UC Irvine and graduated. He graduated from UC Santa Barbara on a baseball scholarship. And some years later, he gets a hold of me back in 1996 and says, hey, man, I need a favor. I said, what's the favor? He says, I'm applying to LAPD. I need a recommendation. So I wrote him a recommendation. Well, it got sent over to LAPD, and I guess he heard about somewhere or another what I wrote, and he's just like, man, I heard something. They didn't tell me exactly, but they were just like, man, they just said that you wrote like a beautiful essay recommending me to LAPD, and I want to pay you back. I said, okay, well, I mean, you don't have to, but what is it? He says, we're going to go over to Starbucks over on the patio, and we're going to drink and smoke cigars. Okay, never smoked cigars before. First cigar was a Macanudo. Smoked it. It's like, okay, this is kind of fun. At first, I was kind of like, cigars? Well, you know, I was never a smoker, really, of cigarettes, but I'm thinking cigars, it's like, okay, well, you don't inhale, so it can't be so bad. So took my first hit on a Macanudo.
Neither did Bill Clinton.
Smoked it, and I liked it, and I started just going occasionally. Every now and then, I'd be at the mall, I'd stop over at, you remember the Tender Box. I know you remember the Tender Box.
Yep.
Yeah, pop into the Tender Box, pick up about 3 or 4 cigars. Knew nothing about a humidor. I just keep them out on my desk, on top of my desk. And,
Criminal.
Yeah, what did I know? So I only got like 3 or 4 of them and smoked them like within a matter of a week. And then after I got divorced from my first wife, I went to this one lounge over in Sacramento on 16th and V. At the time, it was called Cardenas. And walked in there, got a humidor, bought about maybe 30 cigars. And old man Cardenas was funny because you buy a bunch of cigars. And I told him, hey, I'm, not really, I'm trying to get into cigar smoking. And, his wife was ringing it up. And he's being sneaky. He's looking like real shifty like. Then he grabs a handful of cigars and throws them in the bag. So, I mean, I just fell in love with it ever since after that. I was smoking a lot of their cigars at the time, and then I came up to Roseville at a shop, Perfecto Lounge, and started smoking some of the big boys, and from there, it just grew into what I love now.
I love, those are great stories. Excuse me. Again, first cigar. There is because I was trying to think about this, because I was with a buddy here, and he's like, okay, well, I want to try smoking cigars. And I don't remember ever just not knowing how to smoke. Now when we smoke, we all, I'll do like a 1 or 2, and you'll see me smoke. I just don't do the one inhale. But trying to teach somebody, and I don't remember ever going through this process where you see the guys that kind of just do the, I get it, and you're like, I just don't remember going through this whole changing process, So it's, if anybody has any clues on how I can help demonstrate, my thing is just pretend you're a woman and don't swallow, right? But apparently it doesn't seem to work out this way. So I don't know if you guys remember.
Smoking.
Yeah. Okay. I don't remember if you guys or know this or see people that start that are just, there's. Yeah, this is great. And you're like, okay, so do you guys remember going through that process? We're learning, or do you guys just remember
I'm going to tell you how I was taught.
Oh, God.
And it's real, and it works. This is also the way I teach people. You ask them, can you drink from a straw? They're like, yeah. I said, that's the same process. You pull the smoke into your mouth, and then you exhale. When you drink from a straw, you pull the liquid into your mouth, and then you swallow it after that. It's a 2-step process. Cigars is only the first step. It seems to work for people.
Kind of like the article you wrote for Grindr.
Roger helped me with that,
Again, that's the don't swallow.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the way I was taught, and it works.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's actually good. I didn't think about that. That's drink it through a straw.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you guys have the cardboard straws now, so I don't know if anybody drinks down there.
Not
anymore.
here. We don't. Now it's this eco-friendly plastic.
Still. Oh, you steal some of the cardboard straws.
Yeah, I don't use them. I refuse.
No, I just throw them out. I just drink from the glass. Screw
Yeah.
it.
I like to tell people, do you need a straw? No, I pee standing up.
Since when?
Is that the one you go down there? Like you have to request a straw too, right? If you go down there to Cali and order something, like it's
In a lot of cases, in 99% of the cases, no, they're going to give it to you anyway. But there are some places stick to the letter of the law where you have to request utensils, you have to request napkins and that. But most places they don't do that.
Oh, well, good.
You get one 4x4 square paper napkin and a spork.
That's all you need, though, right? That's all you need.
You know, we left out the gorilla. I feel bad. We got to add the gorilla to this. Tell us your story, gorilla.
I think I've told it on here before. I was the Eagle Scout. I didn't drink, smoke, do drugs. I was the square of my friend group for a long time.
Well, golly, Sergeant Carter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sounds like you made up for it since, but go ahead.
Yeah, this would have been when I was 24. My next youngest brother had his first son, or first child. Coincidentally, Larry's my dad, by the way. My dad's first grandson, so my dad handed out cigars. And for whatever reason, I took what he was handing out and took it home, and I realized one of two things is going to happen. I'm either going to smoke this, or it's going to disintegrate into a powder, and I'll feel bad that I didn't smoke it. So screw it. Let's smoke it. I'll throw up off the back deck. My dad can tell his friends that his son's an idiot, and we can move on. That was the shop stick, right, from Tobacco Republic, yardstick?
Yeah, it was the yardstick, yeah.
So not a name brand top of the line cigar, but certainly not a bad cigar by any means.
No, decent house stick that we have at our local brick and mortar.
And you got to realize these house sticks are made by
it's
You
quality tobacco. It's
it's a quality cigar for sure. So yeah, even though it's a house stick, there's house sticks that are made by plenty of people. So
here's the only part that I know will make everyone listening cringe. I wasn't a cigar smoker. I wasn't living with my parents at the time, so I did not have access to cigar accoutrement. I got the sharpest buck knife I had.
Whittled the end off this bastard.
And very, very carefully, I didn't crack anything. I was very proud of myself because it was razor sharp. It was basically a one-bladed cutter. Cut the end, lit it with the Bic barbecue lighter. Again, don't judge me. Could have been worse. I could have lit it off the stove.
I know people that have done that.
I've done that. There's no shame in your game, what you just described. Anybody who has smoked cigars for a time have come to that point where you don't have the accoutrements and you got to improvise. Real sharp knife, kitchen shears.
The cigarette lighter in your car.
Yeah, that too. But yeah, I took a cigar, turned on the gas on my kitchen range.
There you go.
Puff, puff, puff. And there you go.
And to what you were saying earlier, how did you learn? I had the fortune of going into the cigar lounge and sitting with my dad and watching the new guys come in and get harangued by the regulars. So I kind of knew roughly what to do and what not to do. I didn't light the wrong end or anything. But I smoked that, got to the end of it, went, shit, I think I have a new hobby. And then from there it was
he's been poaching cigars out of my fucking humidor ever since.
Yeah, then we stepped up to box press norteños from my dad's humidor without his knowledge. It was easy to do because my brother was also taking him to put weed in, so he got the blame for that.
Way to throw him under the bus.
My dad knows. If he really wanted to stop us, he could have. And then from there, it's been, I think my go-tos are Rocky Patel, Camacho, kind of the well-known brands, but these guys have been helpful in branching my my palate, as it were.
Cigar experience.
Yeah, that's what we'll call it. So, yeah.
Spread your wings and fly, gorilla.
Right, and that's the great thing about it. It's funny because when people are like, so what do you do at night and stuff? You're like, oh, I'm just going to be at the cigar lounge, and everybody's like, oh. So everybody has this visual that we're living in the this era where cigar lounges are just strippers dancing and us throwing money and just drinking away. But when you see these guys that bring their dates in, they're like, this is what you guys do. It's just a bunch of people hanging out and talking. You're like, yeah, but this is a fun time. So
Yeah.
the community in general, that's really kind of an unknown truth with everybody, and that's kind of why we get involved in that, because it's truly a place that if you hate somebody in a cigar lounge, it's just because they're a piece of crap anyways, right? Like,
you would hate them in general public as well.
Yeah. I mean, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter anything. You're just a piece of shit. So why are we gonna? Can we swear? I'm sorry. I don't know.
No.
Yes, you can.
Yes.
We're not regulated.
You obviously haven't listened to any of the episodes.
I'm talking to my agent over here. He's sitting over here, so I'm just making sure I'm saying the right things. So he's flagging me down if I say the wrong things. But that's it. The culture of the cigar industry too, I think, is just another very enticing portion of why we do what we do. I mean, because you tell people all the time, you can walk into a lounge that you've never been to, and people are there to talk to people, unless they got their, you'll know. Some people have their headphones on their computer. You're like, okay, those guys don't want to talk, but everybody's just so willing to talk and be incorporated in that community, that it's just such a great community. So for especially having your dad to be able to do that for you and steal his cigars, like, that's great. Also, you should live with your parents as long as you can. I wish I still lived with my parents. You know how much money I have saved up? If I didn't buy this house and all this,
Pump the fucking brakes there, homeboy.
My son's out of the house. I don't have to worry about it. So
we've had the cigar community talk quite a few times on the podcast, just in general. I came from the bar business as a younger man, and it's funny how you can break bars down to types of bars, geographics, all kinds of different things, socioeconomic status, everything. Cigar lounges, that's not the case. I mean, you can walk into a lounge, and I don't care where you are in the country, you're going to have a cross section of the population that you do not see in any other type of setting. Yeah. I mean, you're going to have a guy, blue collar guy, that just came out from finishing concrete, 150 yards of flat work, and the guy sitting next to him could be in a $5,000 Izod suit and a $1,000 pair of shoes, and it's, and nobody gives a shit. It's just, right. You're in that communal situation where what you're focusing on is your enjoyment of the same thing. And that's what I really enjoyed about it, just in general, because that's how I got started out. I mean, the group of guys that we all played poker together, there were some bartenders, some bar backs, there was a lawyer, there was a district attorney, there was a private airline or private plane pilot. There was a bunch of people that you would never really meet and have that kind of interaction with at any other point in your life if it wasn't for these. So it's just been a cool experience for me, 30 plus years running.
All right. So let's get your definition, because this is always a question too. Let's get a definition of what a boutique cigar is for you guys. What's a boutique cigar?
Small market manufacturer. I mean, what are you looking for here?
Well, would we consider My Father to be a boutique cigar brand?
I don't think so anymore. I mean, for myself personally, I think My Father is kind of, if you were going to call it a boutique, I think it's got to be at the top of that level now, because it's fairly well known throughout the cigar community. I think some of the boutique stuff, at least for me, in my opinion, is some of the smaller, less commercially available sticks. We're seeing stuff like guys we've talked to, Apostate.
The cat's from Haiti. What is that?
Bohikio.
Yes.
What's he holding up there? What do we got?
That's the Apostate. Brandon, I love that guy.
Oh,
yep.
Phenomenal sticks.
Oh, amazing sticks.
That's our boy.
He was just here enjoying some cigars earlier, so not today, but a couple weeks ago. So yeah.
I was just down in Lodi, about a little over an hour south of where we hang out, where we live, for a Room 101 event at Stogie's Lounge in Lodi. with Matt Booth, and just
who also lives in Spokane and is a Marine. So he lives in this state with me. So I love Boothie.
I got to meet him for the first time Friday. What an awesome cat, man.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Help me out here, guys. What I mean?
Well, I don't know. I like Josh's definition of boutique. It's not so much and I kind of tend to agree with him. It's not so much the manufacturing size for me. It's more of what's the vibe you get when you meet the individuals that run that place? Is it a family-oriented thing? Two brands aside, Apostate is number one on my book of boutique. Another brand that I think falls into that category is Enrique Sanchez 1502. You know, he's really personable, good guy, takes care of his people. Sebastian with Cavalier. I mean, that his brand is getting bigger, but he retains a quality and a family atmosphere that I think sets the boutiques apart from the big houses. And by big houses, I'm talking your Altadis, your Altria, your
Rocky Patel.
Rocky, yes. Even Scandinavian Tobacco Group, where they're these big conglomerates that are just that. They're corporate giants. They're not a family oriented business. So yes, for me, my father, Illusion, Christoph, to me, they do qualify as boutique for me because they're smaller. You know, they are more interested in quality control and the experience that their consumer has than the bottom dollar.
Well,
right. Well,
I don't want to say that though. I want to back that up a little bit. I don't think it's so much there. It's about bottom dollar. It's just like we said, the size and the limited runs and such. And Illusion, which by the way, that's my go-to. So I'm not criticizing them by a mile, but a boutique shop that has probably, maybe 4 or 5 lines. And not, like Rocky, mad respect for Rocky, but there's 1,000,002 Rocky Patel lines you can get. Boutique for me, is small, real contained. They focus on probably maybe 5 to, I'll even be generous and say 5 to 8 brands, maybe 10. And they concentrate on those. Of course, you have limited runs because you can only run with the tobacco you've got for so long before you're out of it, because this is an organic product.
But I think the culture of the company has as much to do with it as the product. Because look at some of the boutique guys that we've met in the last couple of years. Matt, Apostate, those guys, Cavalier. Juan
Don
Doroteo Cigars. Any of those guys, any of those brands could quadruple in size, and I think you would still have the same feel, the same person. I don't care how big Brandon gets, he's still going to be Brandon. You're going to be able to reach out to him. You're going to be able to talk to him. He's going to show up at the events. I think that that's what has been driving the boutique, the smaller market guys, to be so successful in the last few years, is because that's what we're looking for as consumers. We can go out and find a cigar any place, man. I mean, there's a lot of quality product out there, a lot. But we don't just want a good cigar. We want a good experience, but that whole experience. We want that family feel. I love the fact that my father paid the employees while they were down. We've heard that about a couple other.
Don Doroteo does that on the off season.
Yeah, he plants off-season crop to make sure that he keeps his people employed year round. That's the kind of thing I'm interested in, man. Is what are you doing? What's the culture? What are you doing? And I think there's just so many quality places right now that it's great for the industry.
And I want to come back real quick, Matt, to something you said earlier when you were talking about, I don't like Matt, so I don't like my father's cigars or whatever you represent. I think that's the biggest load of horse shit ever, because for me, and I can probably speak for quite a bit of consumers, I value the fact that I get FaceTime with you at an event, at a cigar expo, at any of those things, because if you're going to take the time to come and just basically bullshit with me in the middle of a lounge at an event, that's part of that experience that I want. That's part of what makes it boutique. Yes, the big houses do that too, but not at the same level. There's no interpersonal exchange. You know, a corporate brand, if you will, their reps tend to be a little bit more sterile, a little bit more boring. And I think that the interaction you get, like with Booth and with you and with Brandon and that, it makes it more personal, so it makes it a better experience and helps to showcase their brand more.
Yeah, so this, just from my experience, especially on the side of the industry that I'm on, that you guys don't get, because a lot of people will say that. So, excuse me, let's take, my father as an example of this, because everybody knows Jose the Hurricane Ortega. He's my big boss. He's the, but after him, I call the family. I call Jaime. I call Pepin. I call Yanni Garcia. I mean, it's still, even though they sell a lot of cigars and they make a lot of cigars, it is still me being on the bottom of the totem pole for my father. I still, right now, can call any one of those guys to help me out with any situation. That's what I consider a boutique cigar.
Well, absolutely.
Even though we sell a lot, right? I can call Brandon. I love Brandon. That he's one of my guys. I'll actually be over. I got an event coming up next month over at Beehive in Salt Lake City there. But so, yeah, because there's a cross definition. Now, when you get to, and I'm not speaking bad about any company, so I'm not going to talk anything else, but just talking about my father, like when you get there, as far as boutiques go, I have one boss and then the family. And so when people get to me, it's like, well, I'm like boutique cigars. And I'm like, we're a boutique cigar company in every aspect that you want to know. Right. So, it's just always different to find out what people associate with I heard somebody at one time in the cigar industry that's a big guy in the cigar industry say boutique cigars are cigars that don't sell. That's why we call them boutique, kind of as a joke. But so yeah, I mean, it's interesting that we have this qualification or this name that's called a boutique, that we want to describe what a boutique cigar is, because especially when you look at my father's cigars, you're looking at a family-oriented place that are making these great cigars, but people will be like, oh, this is just a major company, but it's not. It's a very family-oriented company. So, at the same time, you can get that boutique in now. I'm just plugging my father because I want you to know, first and foremost, I want you to know that working for them, your family. I did laundry at their place, like your family, 100%. So I can't say it enough about my father on how much that if you want to, however you want to talk about a boutique cigar, unless you want to say that a boutique cigar doesn't sell, everything else about my father, which just has great cigars, is very boutique. Like the family's amazing. I just want to throw that out there just in case. But
we appreciate that, man.
What a great company to work for. And if you don't want to buy it, and again, Brandon from Apostate, I love his brand. I think it's phenomenal. He's over here smoking. He gave me that. I smoke them all the time. But we got to kind of change that definition of boutique, because I think there are people that only are boutique. I only smoke boutique brands, but you're missing out on so much more. Mm-hmm. Like the qualification when I said somebody, I don't smoke San Andreas, I don't smoke Cameroons. You still got to give them a shot, because there's so much more to that cigar. People say 75% of that flavor is the wrapper, but that's not.
And that's funny. If you go back and listen to some of our shows, one of our big things, like I said, I've been smoking 30 years. I can't.
Well, you got to be 35 years old, anyways.
Yeah.
Been smoking since you were 5.
Dude, I got kids older than you. Be quiet.
I don't think you do. But
yeah,
that's
probably
fine.
not. But it sounded good. The thing that always cracks me up.
It's a Coors Light, not a Bud Light, by the way. Just in case you
Thank you for sharing. Reviews have always just stymied me. And we joke about it, and we try to review cigars, to the best of our ability, because we're talking about cigars on a podcast, right? But I think that the industry as a whole has done as much damage to itself by some of the reviews as as positive inroads, because there's some of the reviews out there for the sticks that, oh, it's very floral forward and it tastes like leather and it, there could be some earthy. And no, nobody gives a shit, man. And it's just, you've come up with all these different terms and terminologies just so you can talk more. That's all it comes down to,
Right. There's I have a great story about that. And when I tell people, like, if I'm in an event, if I'm at the vault, so let's say Jeff at the vault, the guy that runs the vault, he knows everybody's palate. He's their tobacconist. When you go and ask Jeff for a cigar. So I'm a used car salesman. So I can tell them that you should get, I always use this analogy, like this, you'll get bird semen out of this. And they'll be like, oh, I could totally taste the bird semen, or I can't taste the bird semen, so it's a horrible cigar. Because they'll try to justify that flavor that I'll tell them that they should get without just realizing what they should get. Because they trust, I read a review about Australian nutmeg in one of the cigars, and I'm like, who knows what Australian nutmeg tastes like? Like, that's, like, how do you even get to that part and parcel about that? So, your tobacconist at your local shop is your most important guy. Like, everybody has that tobacconist. I'm sure when you guys visit a shop, you have a guy that you go to that's like, he knows my palate. What do you have that's new? And that's what I want to get, right? Am I not?
Yeah, that's funny, man, because you can kind of pick and choose between tobacconists too. The very first shop that I used to go into in Roseville is long gone now, but they had this guy who was the the face of the shop. Great big tall 6'6", 6'7" guy, probably in his early 70s. He wore a tuxedo shirt every day, and I don't care what he was smoking. When you walked in there, that was his favorite cigar. Didn't matter. Could be a Maduro in the morning, could be a Habano in the afternoon, could be a flavored the next day. Didn't matter. That was his favorite cigar. You go in there, hey, man, I'm looking for this, you got to try this right here. This is my favorite cigar. And it worked, He would put people into stuff that you may not normally try on your own, but that was the sales pitch, and that's what he did every time,
Yeah. No, it's that's not my mic. Just so we're clear.
It's probably interference coming from the internet connection.
Okay. But yeah, no, it's one of the nice things about a broker, and I do this, and I love to do these kind of events where, because I represent numerous brands. So you take a brand, especially like in the Connecticut area, because there's only so much flavor we can do with different Connecticut's. You take 3 different Connecticut's from 3 different brands, you unband them, and you let them smoke down an inch at a time. So your first number 1 cigar, you smoke an inch, you write down.
Oh, we lost him.
Yeah, I think we lost him.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's all right. We'll catch up with him.
We'll text him and say we lost him.
Yeah, he'll probably be back on momentarily.
I don't think it's going to make it, Captain. All right. Holding. So while we're waiting to see if we can get back on the connection, how you guys doing on these My Fathers? What are you thinking?
I like this one. As you can see, I'm using my cigar stick, trying to get it down to even more of the nub. So, it's a nice, flavorful, rich cigar.
Yeah, this I'm glad I ate. This would be a rough first thing in the morning, no breakfast stick. I think it's got a little bit more power than you would want to do on an empty stomach, but a lot of flavor on this. I'm really impressed. I have not had a lot of My Father stuff, a few things here and there.
Yeah,
but hasn't been something that I've gravitated towards a lot. I'd be interested if we can get Matt back on to find out what he would recommend on the say medium to full
yeah
side, because this is probably This is kind of a full plus, you know.
Yeah, they list it as it's listed as a medium to full.
Okay.
Yeah, I could buy that. I do want to go back to something when we were talking about boutique cigars. You know, the big boys with the running joke, whoever said that, you know, these are cigars that don't sell. I mean, I'm hoping no one truly believes that, because it's to the cigar community's benefit that these smaller boutique brands are coming into the market. It's given us such a great variety of things to smoke. I mean, you can walk into some humidors. I mean, let's just talk about maybe a big, small to medium range stock of a humidor, and you could smoke something different every day for, if you smoke like us, like, you know, 6 or 7 times a week. I mean, you could smoke something different for 6 fucking months, a year even.
Yep.
Because you have that variety, and it's always something new to try. I mean, some of the stuff you try is not going to be in your wheelhouse, if you will, but you get that experience of trying all this different stuff, and you're not just locked into one brand. Because, like I said, when I started in my cigar journey, I was at a shop which could be considered, the entire shop was boutique. It was all its own brand, Casillas, Cardenas, and it's what is it now? I want to say Hatui, but it's their own brand, and I mean, it's a fuck ton of them of different sizes and strengths, but you know, you're smoking something different every time.
There he is.
Yep.
And I think that's to our benefit.
Well, and if
There you are.
If you're one of the big 5,
Sorry about that.
If you're one of the big 5 out there in the tobacco world, and you think these boutique brands aren't selling, you might want to take a little closer look at the market research there.
Well, and let's go back now. Let's go back to that statement Matt made, because I think that too. Whoever said that is full of crap. Boutique brands are not ones that don't sell, because this is going to sound a little bit snobbish, and I don't really care. I know what my go-tos are for the large houses. I look for what's new, what's unique, and a lot of times the new innovative stuff, at least in the last couple of years, has been coming out of the boutique houses. That's where if you're a smoker like some of our friends that are set in their ways, they have their 4 or 5 brands that they rotate through, they're missing out on so much in the industry right now, because they're afraid to venture out and find the things that they don't like. And that, to me, is where the statement's wrong. It doesn't sell because you're not interested in trying something new.
Which is fine. If you're in a rut and that's what you do, that's what you do. It's perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that. And again, mad respect to Rocky Patel, but you know, it just depends on your mood. Sometimes you want to go for a boutique cigar. Sometimes you want to go with old reliable. Rocky has so many brands. I mean, you can go through his stock and get some vintage stuff that you never smoked before that was from the 2000s, and you might discover something that you like. Mm-hmm. Another day, you go for a boutique, a little-known cigar house or up-and-comer like Don Doroteo, who makes some fantastic cigars, by the way, and the cat is really put together.
Yep.
Ron Lugo, that cat's on it.
Now, Matt's back with us. So, Larry, you were talking about what else in the line. You know,
Yeah.
TR used to carry my father.
Yeah, Matt, Tobacco Republic used to carry my father, and they don't. That's our local brick and mortar here. So I've smoked a few, but honestly, not had a huge representation of that line. If something in the mild to medium range, what would you steer me towards?
Well, I 100% would be the Flor de las Antillas, right? So that is the 2012 cigar of the year. It's our number 1 selling cigar. It's the quintessential medium bodied, earthy, leathery, San Andreas wrapper, and it's just been but that one is a fantastic experience. But the Flor de las Antillas, that's a quintessential earthy, leathery, medium bodied, like no back end pepper and spice. It's just a phenomenal cigar. So if you want something that medium body range, 2012 cigar of the year continues to be one of the top selling cigars in the industry. So that's That's the one I'd recommend. We do make a Maduro version of it too, which is still not medium bodied, but great chocolate and cocoa notes kind of on there too. But those would be the two that I'd recommend.
Right on. Thank you.
And as a matter of fact, but before I got cut off there, is my fault. But when I talked about going an inch on each of these 3 different cigars, you find out that even in that Connecticut, how well your palate is and how different each blend, even though you would think they're similar, are different. So I did it with my buddy Rick up here, and did 3 different cigars, and he ended up choosing the Connecticut My Father just because he liked that Nicaraguan binder and filler that was in there that made it just smooth. But that's the one he ended up choosing because I took all the bands off, all the labels off, and he was like, man, my palate's a lot better than I think. Because if you smoke a cigar all the way through and smoke the next cigar, you're not really getting the differences between the two if you smoke an inch down each time.
Yeah, no, that's
important to write it down. So
I've done that before, but it's been a long time. I think the last time I did that was with Christoph, and I can't think of the guy's name that was the rep for Christoph. Black guy, probably
Paul.
Paul.
It's either Paul or Terry Coleman, one of the two.
It wasn't Terry.
And it was Paul.
Down in California?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a different rep down there now. Yeah. Mike's good guy down there, but yeah.
But I mean, this was probably 10 or 12 years ago. It's been a minute since I've done that, but that was kind of Ron's thing too, the owner of Tobacco Republic. He'd pull that on you every once in a while. You know, if you rolled in there on a Sunday morning or something, and it was a little bit slower, he'd pull 3 things, and it'd always get me because he's a Lancero guy, and I'm not really a big Lancero smoker. For nothing else than, it was like I look funny at almost 300 pounds smoking a Lancero. My running joke is it's like might as well be a Virginia Slim Ultralight. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm
it looks too girthy on you. I got it.
Yeah, it's a little. But Ron used to hammer me every once in a while with he'd bring out 3 Lanceros and he'd just light all 3 of these. I'm like, oh Jesus, I just wanted to have a cup of coffee and a smoke, man. Now you're making me work here. You're
doing the Pepsi challenge.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's some days, man, it's hard to keep one lit. And he's like, if you let it go out, then it changes the flavor. And he's just pounding the shit out of you, right? I'm like, Christ, man, I didn't know I was running a marathon here this morning. Hold on, let the fat kid get a breath in. But yeah, I'd forgotten that until you mentioned that. How that's a hell of an experience. Everybody should try that at least once.
Everybody should try it. And I want to do events like that, but it's hard because 1, you have to get everybody there on time, and 2, nobody can talk about what they're getting out of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You don't want to talk about flavor profiles. You don't want to talk about anything else. You just want to, you can have a conversation about anything else, but everybody's got to write in their notes on what they're getting out of it, because that's kind of the blending process that everybody goes through. They have 3 similar cigars. They're like this one. They're going to make 3 similar cigars that are similar to the one that they like. Then they're going to pick one that they kind of like, and then 3 more similar cigars till they figure out where that comes from. So the blending process too is man, if you can ever get involved in a blending process, I'm telling you, you're going to smoke all day long and you're going to hate cigars for 4 hours, and then you'll be smoking again. There'll be at least 4 hours you don't want to smoke.
Well, I know that my father has several of their lines in Lancero, and that was always my favorite, is getting one of their Lanceros, because Ron got me into Lanceros, and that's where my palate goes. In fact, I have half a box of my father Lanceros, and I don't remember what one we got, but it's fantastic, and that's my go-to, is that size too.
Yeah, it's kind of the cigar smoker cigar, right? There's a secret hidden thing about Lanceros that makes them really nice, because you get a lot more of that wrapper on there, which is a kind of more of that supreme leaf. But it's all about mouthfeel. That's why we make Robustos, Toros, Gordos, anything like that. So
yep.
There's a lot that goes into those, but yeah, different flavor for everybody.
Matt, what's your go-to size? I mean, what's typical for you?
I do enjoy Lancero. Like if I haven't smoked all day and I'm coming into to my little lounge here, I'm gonna have a nice Lancero, watch a movie, because I really like that flavor profile and the palate of that. I would say on a day-to-day, like a Toro or Robusto size, kind of those are kind of my ring gauge is, either the 5x52s or the 6x52, something like that, but nothing
Nothing crazy.
nothing overwhelming. I'm not a big ring gauge guy by any means. So, when you get in that 52, 54 ring gauge, I'm good. When you start jumping into, I've seen guys smoking the 8x80s and it just blows me away. But, to each their own. Again, I'm not trying to criticize anybody that smokes 8x80s. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, man,
it's a big
the
cigar to
fire
put in your mouth.
extinguisher's right behind you. Okay, Greg's lighting himself up over here.
Tried to.
Jeez.
I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm
Greg,
done with mine. That was great.
You can't take that guy anywhere, I'll tell you.
No, true.
Yeah, if it's not the fuzz on his head for the picture, he's lighting himself on fire. It's just, Christ, you all right, man?
You do got some fuzz on your head.
A little bit.
You missed that with the Bic. Jesus.
Okay, I'm back.
He had to pick up the rest of his white owl that he started with.
No. This one is. We were just talking about this one. Please don't cringe on me, Matt. But yesterday I started with my Father Lancero. I got through half of it, and fortunately the weather's not so terrible out here. So I left it in the ashtray and picked it up today. Yes, the flavor is a little different. It's a little bit more burnt, but it's a Lancero. I'm going to finish it, and it is a My Father too.
To me, look, you enjoy your cigar, you enjoy your cigar. When we talk about big lighters or, there are ways that we want to light our cigar. We don't want to take a torch and burn it right in there. But if I'm driving, I'm going to light my cigar just to enjoy it, right? Yeah. So, I don't criticize anybody for how they enjoy their cigars. And I've been told I hold my cigar really weird anyways, so there's that portion. But I never criticize. If you want to enjoy your cigar, just enjoy your cigar. I mean, there's sciences about it, why you want to light it certain ways and use certain things about it. But in the end, you know what? Just enjoy your experience, enjoy that cigar, because that's what it comes down to. Because, you can have the worst cigar ever made, but if you climb Mount Everest and smoke that cigar is always going to remind you of Mount Everest. So you're going to love that cigar. Mm-hmm. Or you can have the worst day, your wife left you, took all the kids, and you smoked the best cigar ever made. You're going to hate that cigar. So just enjoy your cigar, enjoy your cigar. That's why events are great, because we have a chance to interact and talk about the cigars and talk about what's going on. So, yeah, to me, just enjoy the cigar. It is what it is. Some people are like, oh, you sit at your house and smoke alone? And I'm like, yeah, I do. I'll smoke and drink alone, because some days that's just what I want to do, right? So,
to me, that's right.
Yeah, to me, enjoy it how you enjoy it. And if somebody criticizes you for it, then
fuck them.
Yeah.
So, Matt, another question for you. How did you make the transition from repping for Ashton to brokering for multiple lines?
So this is a right place, right time. My son still lived up here, and then went down to Ashton, and then decided, okay, well, maybe it's not best at the time for me to be this far away from my son. Came back up here, was provided an opportunity from another broker up here, took it, and then just kind of carried it on there. The broker industry is harder to get into, because you have to know the right people at the right time. And, and again, in any situation, it's not like I can call you guys and be like, hey, you guys are now repping my cigars in this territory, because then they can call you tomorrow and be like, no, you're not, and hire somebody else. So, I will say a lot of it's right time, but also the people that you meet, your interactions with these guys, because, it's like any cigar lounge. If you lose a job, but your buddies are there, they'll be like, hey, I know who you are. Let me recommend you to this. Let me recommend you to that, that kind of stuff. So, like I told my son, you never burn bridges in this industry. All the cigar manufacturers are great. So that it just never was quite an issue for me as far as that's concerned. I don't really think I have a bad name with most of these manufacturers out there. So that was more of a right place, right time to get in the brokerage.
Kind of a necessity, business, as it were, huh?
Yeah. Well, when I moved back from Texas and I left Ashton, I did not expect to come back to this side of the industry. But again, it was just kind of one of those right place, right time. I was expecting to do something else, but just so happened that I'm here where I'm at now.
I don't know. How long you been brokering now?
Since 2019.
Okay. Oh man, you got into it right right at the great time to be.
It was beautiful. Yeah, everything shut down. It was fantastic, especially up here in Washington. Oh man.
Yeah, they
great.
pretty much rolled up the sidewalks and everything up there, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, you could smoke weed on the sidewalk and nobody cares. Heaven forbid you light up a cigar. It's like you killed somebody's firstborn and they'll call the cops on you right away.
Sounds like California.
There's 20 people. Yeah, 100%. It's like there's 20 people right in front of me smoking weed. Yeah, but you can't smoke cigars. You're like, oh, all right. Up here, you could be shooting up heroin in a park, and then if you're smoking a cigar, the cop will come up to you, and you're like, really? This is the okay. But
So we ask for feedback all the time.
Oh God.
So one of our listeners,
Uh-oh.
and he's a new listener, but one of our listeners, Will Brown, he comes from the Vault. He called me yesterday at your party and was asking me, and I said, I really don't know the answer to this question, so I got a bunch of you here, and I got Matt here too. So he was asking me, the brand of the cigar is immaterial, and I have my theory. He was saying that he smokes, let's say a Churchill size. It's a little bit bigger than that, but he gets halfway through the cigar, and it's like the lit end starts to crystallize and gets very hard to keep lit. I have never experienced that, but I'm wondering, is it getting it too hot, smoking too fast? Is what's everyone thinking that would be causing that? Because he would love to know so he could correct the issue and continue enjoying his cigars.
I'm thinking he's smoking a little too fast.
I'm thinking so too. What do you think, Matt?
Well, I mean, I think there goes a lot into it, right? So wrappers definitely, we have a lot of oily wrappers out there that even no matter what the size, you still have to keep relighting because, every cigar has mild, medium, and full-bodied leaf. So there's a lot of times you'll get that little pyramid shape in there, which you're smoking too fast because the heavier leaf is harder to burn. So that you might be able to smoke it too fast because it really depends on the cigar, it depends on the leaf, and depends on what he's doing. But initially, what I tell people is if the cigar is not burning well for you, it's probably your fault. Because we're just in this process now that we make. Everybody makes exceptional cigars. They're all hand rolled. They all go through quality control processes. But there are times, look, again, they're hand rolled. So there are certain times that you'll get something bad. But if it's a continuation of stuff and he's smoking Churchills and this stuff's happening, then he's got to look at what he's doing. Is he rotating through that smoke, through the cigar? Is he smoking too fast? So that's more of it's harder to tell just right off of that because I think there's a lot of differences that will go into that depending on what cigar you're smoking, depending on the leaf of the cigar. So that's just really, it's a really hard thing to tell. But
well, I think it's interesting you say oily leaf because I think that's part of the problem. Given the brand, I know knowing what the brand is, that could very well be part of the problem. So that'll be good for telling him.
Where's his humidification level too?
About 70 and 70. Varies just a little bit, maybe a % or two, but.
Well, that could be a little bit of the problem too. Based on the size of the cigar and if it's an oilier leaf than typical. I've noticed on some things, especially around that size, that you will get where the center of that cigar will be a little more moist if your humidity is a little too high than the front and the back end. So when you get to about the middle, it's starting to crystallize because it's damper in the middle of that cigar for whatever reason. I don't know why it does that, but I've had that happen on stuff where if you're pulling it out, my buddy Chad's Humidor, he tends to run his stuff more at about 71 or 72%. So you got to be careful getting that kind of medium ring gauge stuff out of his Humidor because you'll get that where it hardens up almost like a briquette in the middle of that cigar.
That's actually a good description. Sounds like that's probably the problem because that almost sounds exactly what he described to me over the phone. So could be.
Ask him too, how many times did he relight that?
Right.
Is he relighting it with a soft flame? Is he relighting it with a four burner torch? Is it to the point where he's got halfway down the cigar, so the end of it's fairly moist because it's been in your mouth. Now, is that moisture traveling down the cigar? And if he's got a 4-burner lighter, is he just crystallizing the shit out of that cigar when he's trying to relight it now. There's like Matt said, there's a ton of factors involved, and 98% of them are operator error, so to speak.
Yep.
But I will say on my end that it's important if you do run into that, let your tobacconist know so they can let us know. Because if this becomes an issue that I've heard from more than one shops, then maybe there is a process that we have to go look at, because we know down to the roller, down to whatever, every single box that's rolled, so we can look into it on our end. So if you are having a problem with cigar, if you're having continuous problems with the same cigar, let your tobacconist know. Say, hey, just let Matt from My Father know that I've had this many cigars, and if I hear about it from more than one shop, then that's something that we can look into too. So so one is important to let your tobacconist know about it, because that's how I get feedback for the most part. And then if we hear about it on a nationwide level, then we're able to trace down these areas of what's going on. So it's important to let us know. But 98% of the time there's something that you're doing that doesn't mesh with the way you're smoking cigars or sizes. Because if you jump from different sizes, like you're smoking a Lancero, you're going to smoke it differently than you're smoking a Churchill. So
right,
yep.
Maybe there's different things that he wants to look into. Maybe the Churchill's not the right size for his smoking style. Maybe he needs to go to a Robusto or a Toro and figure that out. So,
good idea.
It's you're fucking it up, buddy.
I don't say that. No. I know who this guy is, so I'm not going to say anything because I'm going to see him next week. So
yes, you will.
But it's probably him.
Fortunately, though, this episode comes out after you see him.
Oh yeah, well, I'll talk to him then. I'll talk to him when he gets out.
Hey man, I'm getting ready to bag on you on this Beyond the Humidor show because you can't light a fucking cigar and keep smoking it right, man. That's what the problem is. Sit down. We're going to explain this to you again, goddammit. This is my rifle. There are many like it, but this one is mine.
Oh. I love it.
Well, Anthony, what'd you think?
I enjoyed that very much. I would agree. I think my dad said it when you were gone, Matt, but it is definitely, I'm glad I grabbed a ham sandwich on my way in here. I wasn't hungry, but I knew we were going to be smoking. I agree with my dad. If I had not eaten, this probably wouldn't have been as enjoyable as an experience. But you mentioned at the top of the show that this cigar had like the leather, earthy, and cocoa notes, and I haven't told you guys. I've been kind of experimenting. I think that's what I gravitate to. So when you said that, I'm like, ooh, okay, this will be a good test. Now this is definitely 100% in my wheelhouse, and I enjoyed it very much. Very, very much.
Well, see, the scary thing is, after I said it, did you start looking at it, or did you get it before?
I got it. I was getting it before, but when you said it, it kind of confirmed it. Like, okay, yeah, this is okay. This is what I'm.
And that's the thing that like we were talking about earlier. We're so bombarded by information in this day and age that if we would just turn the information off for a little while. We have the ability as animals walking this planet to make a pretty good determination of what we like and don't like. I don't necessarily need, a third-party input that this tastes like Fruit Loops for me to decide yes, no, or maybe on whether I'm going to smoke it or not, Yeah. And unfortunately, we're part of that mechanism, I mean, we do review cigars, but we try to keep it as real as possible. There are some descriptors that you have to put in there, to guide people along, but we're just not making shit up off the top of our head either, It's like, oh yeah, it's definitely lawn clippings. That's what I'm getting, man. Like, no, man.
Yeah.
It's like, what the
I watched a review one time, and Larry and I do the same thing when we review cigars. I refuse to read reviews if I'm going to review said cigar, what previously people have done, because it puts false thoughts into your head. But I was watching a video review of a cigar, and they're a very small batch made cigar, and they're like, one of the guys goes, "Oh yeah, I'm getting hints of citrus," and I'm sitting here smoking the same cigar at the same time, going, where is this coming from? And then the rest of the panel goes, "Oh yeah, it's there. I can taste it." And I'm like, you subliminally now taste this.
Yeah, because monkey number 1 said it. Monkey 2, 3, and 4 are now, and that's just human nature. I mean, you're not going to get away from that, I don't think. But some of the stuff is just, and I don't know why I won't read reviews beforehand, because my ADD is so fucking terrible. I'd be off the chart anyway. I'd be like, oh, I don't even remember what I read about this. But some of the stuff out there is just so crazy that I don't know. I think some of the reviews do a disservice to the industry more than they help.
Yeah, I think one of the things we do on this program is, we may get in a little bit into taste, but it's about how the cigar makes you feel, what kind of memories it brings out for you. It's not about being a cigar sommelier talking about hints of cocoa, butter, and raccoon, if you will.
Yep.
Although that raccoon cigar was pretty goddamn good. I'm just saying.
That was so good. Yeah.
I think I brought it up on a show before. I say it tastes like, what I really mean to say it reminds me of.
Yes.
And I've said that before.
Yeah.
I've had a cigar that none of these guys got it really, but I said this reminds me of a baking spice, and I could name what specific memory I was drawing from. Baking pies with my grandma. I don't know what the flavor is, but that's what this taste and smell reminds me of. That's kind of where I got the cocoa and leather before. Is I'm not tasting hot chocolate. I'm not tasting like I'm licking a boot. I'm smelling these smells that remind me of doing the leatherworking merit badge at summer camp one year, or that baking cocoa smell when you open the Hershey's cocoa powder bag to make something. Like, it's not that I'm not licking cocoa powder and comparing it to the cigar. It's just, this is what it reminds me of.
Well, there you go. You just hit the nail on the head. It's about your experience. Every cigar smoker has a personal experience, and I think the reviews in some respect does a disservice to that, because it's kind of like wine. I mean, people will tell you what something is, plum, cherry, whatever, and God knows what. But it's about what your taste buds taste and what the experience you have. So I would encourage people, I don't want to bag or anything, but I would say ignore reviews. After you smoked it, maybe read the review and see what they think, and then parse it against what you were smoking and see if you got the same experience. But never go and, I would suggest, never going to a review and making that your determination of whether or not you're going to smoke said cigar.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Well, I think we should wrap it up, shall we?
I'm thinking so.
As tradition, last comment is yours, Matt.
Oh man, that's this stuff. No, hey, thanks for having me on your show, guys. Thanks for the support and all that stuff. Appreciate you guys coming out. Keep smoking. Let's have fun. And man, I wish I had something better to end on.
That does just fine, my friend.
Appreciate it, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
No
Thank
doubt.
you.
Thanks for being aboard. Let's blow some smoke up in the air for Leilani, Tommy's wife, who recently passed away. So give her some love.
Tommy, miss you, buddy. We'll see you soon.
He says thank you. We'll see you in a week.
All right. Well, my cigar has been beyond the nub since I finished smoking it about maybe 10 minutes ago, and the scotch is empty. So I guess it's about that time. I want to thank Matt Sas for being on the program, and on behalf of the Gorilla, Larry, Greg, and myself, and our studio audience of one Tommy, thank you for listening. Check us out at LumenCigarCartel.com. Like and share us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. We're doing a lot more now, so watch out for us. And don't be a stranger. Drop us a line and let us know you're out there. I'm Scott Robinson, and on behalf of all of us here at Beyond the Humidor, we look forward to chatting with you on the next program. But until then, stay healthy and safe. And as I always say, good smoke, good drink, and good life. And by the way, if you got a little weight on you and you want to get skinny, just surround yourself with fatter people. Take care, everybody.